Little information exists about Joseph Eisele's life. According to his written confession, he claimed to have been born in Grand Duchy of Baden in 1834. He served 2 years in the Papal Army with 1 year stationed in Rome. Subsequently, he deserted and sought refuge in the mountains, a common strategy among deserters during that era. Around 1864, he immigrated to the USA and settled in Parkersburg. 2 years after his arrival, he married a local woman. Eisele frequently worked as a carpenter or woodworker, although his skills were considered average at best. He preferred spending his time in saloons, accumulating substantial debts along the way. On June 5, 1867, Eisele visited a familiar saloon on Market Street, owned by fellow German immigrant Joseph Lenthal, with whom he was acquainted. Ensuring they were alone, Eisele suddenly attacked Lenthal with a hatchet, causing severe fractures and severing parts of his skull. After the fatal assault, Eisele proceeded to slash the deceased man's throat, severing arteries, and then dismembered his spinal column. Following this gruesome act, Eisele ransacked the saloon, stealing any available cash, which he later used to pay off some of his debts. The sheer brutality of the crime sent the city into a panic, leading to the wrongful imprisonment of an innocent man named Taylor, who was eventually released due to lack of evidence. Subsequently, Eisele encountered financial struggles and job scarcity. Desperate for money, he approached another German merchant, Alloys Ollrich, proposing a lucrative business venture in Wheeling. On June 29th, in the early hours, while near a stone culvert along the Hempfield Railroad, Eisele viciously attacked Ollrich with a hatchet, ultimately decapitating him. After looting Ollrich's belongings for $75 and a watch, Eisele pawned the watch at the Pemberton house, but retained the chain it came with. Although Ollrich's body was discovered days later, decomposition made it challenging to identify the victim or the murder weapon. Clues found, including a case of saddler needles and a steamer express ticket, narrowed down the possible identities of two men: John Andrews, a basket weaver missing from Wheeling, or the German merchant Alloys Ollrich. Eventually, evidence found, such as postage stamps and a note from Ollrich's brother, Clemens, confirmed the victim's identity as Ollrich. For the next 6 months, Eisele remained dormant in terms of violent acts. However, on December 6, driven by mounting debts owed by Dr. Koch, he sought a new victim. Eisele befriended Rudolph Suder, a Hungarian horse trader who had recently conducted a sale in Parkersburg. Allowing Suder to visit his rented apartment near the railroad depot, Eisele struck Suder with the fatal blow to the back of his head using a hatchet. He then placed a cotton glove in Suder's mouth, crushed his temple, and slashed his throat, severing significant blood vessels. After confirming Suder's death, Eisele stole $75 from him and used the money to settle his debts. On January 6, 1868, assuming the alias John Schaefer, Eisele visited coal merchant John White in Parkersburg to settle yet another debt he owed. Requesting a receipt for payment, Eisele seized the opportunity when White turned away to write it, swiftly wielding his hatchet towards his intended victim's head. However, in a stroke of luck for White, he unknowingly shifted at the last moment, causing the blow to strike his shoulder instead. Reacting to the sudden assault, White cried out murder, drawing the attention of several nearby men who rushed to assist him. Eisele, realizing his plan had been thwarted, abandoned his hatchet and attempted to flee, but was swiftly apprehended by police. Upon inspecting Eisele's belongings, authorities discovered incriminating items including cotton gloves and a towel, believed to be intended for use in silencing his next victim. Additionally, various possessions linked to Ollrich and Suder were found among his possessions. Initially maintaining a stoic silence regarding the murders, Eisele eventually relented and confessed in the presence of a Catholic priest and several witnesses. He later provided a written confession detailing his crimes. Following Eisele's arrest, authorities placed him in protective custody as an enraged crowd amassed outside the jail, threatening to carry out a lynching. 2 weeks later, his trial commenced, during which Eisele pleaded guilty to all charges and presented a written confession to the grand jury. Written in German and translated for the court, Eisele's confession expressed remorse for his crimes. He sought forgiveness from both his German and his American compatriots, emphasizing that his wife was unaware of his malevolent deeds. He urged people to continue practicing religion to avoid succumbing to a similar fate. Throughout the trial, Eisele remained composed, responding with quiet denials or silent gestures when questioned. He was ultimately found guilty, sentenced to death, and the presiding jury lamented the tragic path taken by a once-educated man like Eisele. On March 6, 1868, Joseph Eisele faced public execution by hanging in a field outside Parkersburg. This event drew an estimated crowd of over 5,000 individuals, necessitating his escort to the gallows by a squadron of militia. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing by clicking the red subscribe button below. And don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means the world to us. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.